In the name of Allah, the most beneficent, the merciful. Dear students, Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our course Applied Linguistics. Our today's topic is language learning theories that we have continued, I think, in the last lecture. So, in last lecture, we have discussed about the two major theories, behaviorism and mentalism. Last lecture, we have discussed about the basic concepts of these two theories, and we didn't discuss these theories in relation to the language learning process. And today, our focus will be to discuss those theories in regards to the language learning process. So, behaviorism, the most influential theory in 50s and 60s, and according to the behaviorist, the second language learning or L1, but learning of mother tongue or acquisition of L1 or acquisition of mother tongue. It's the same process. There is no difference in learning a first language or second language because they say just learning a second language or first language just needs imitation, repetition, reinforcements, and there must be a stimulus or response basis. And the child learns the language, whether it is a L1 or it's a L2 or mother tongue or a foreign language or second language without knowing the meaning of the words. So it can learn the language. Behaviorists believe that the errors made by the second language learners are just due to the interactions or interference of the patterns or habits of mother tongue, because we are accustomed to use the rules and regulations and sentence structures or different other basic concepts of our own language, and when we learn second language we intermingle those rules and regulations and those structures into L2 or into foreign language or second language. So that's why we make mistakes, that's why we make some errors, so that we can and we improve those errors or mistakes in the passage of time, and until a stage comes when we are error free, we are speaking second language or without any doing any more mistakes. However, in 70s, views of behaviorism were challenged by Noam Chomsky, and it was given the innate theory by Noam Chomsky about language learning process. So we have discussed in our last lecture about innate theory or mental grammar, or what we can say language acquisition device. We all have discussed. Just review. The innateness promotes the notion that a child has mechanism of learning innately by birth. He learns a language and there is no need to repetition or rehearsal or what we can say reinforcement. The child learns a language naturally or without any enforcement, or what we can say, and he has potential to learn language. So nativism relies on four arguments. First argument was that all children, even the mentally or physically impaired, one acquires language quickly with no trouble, while an adult learner strives for this mastery of the second language for years. There is an example of our Pakistani English speaking learners. We have to learn this language for many years until to get mastery and command over this language. However, the families that move towards foreign language or English speaking countries, their children, we can observe, and maybe some of you have some relatives staying over there in English speaking countries and their children, you can compare those children with our own children. Our children are having some sort of reluctancy, hesitation, or some sort of accent problem or pronunciation problems, or to find out accurate vocabulary, to use those vocabulary, to use that vocabulary in an appropriate setting and context. So this notion is given by the innate theory that, but we can say they learn a language without any struggle, without any trouble, if they learn a language at the very a few early years of their age. Nativists claim that all children have similar type of mastery and command to learn a language very quickly in the very starting few years of their lives. and there is no need to give them special instructions or special training or education, and because they can learn without those instructions and training. And this is this theory is what we can say against the notion of reinforcement given by behaviorism theory. So secondly, children hear speech of adults which is often incomplete, haphazard and disorganized. You can also observe these things that when children are busy in their activities, in their childish activities, they are playing, they are involved in the process of hearing of adult speech, but they cannot, or sometimes they don't want to pay full attention to the speech of their adults. So what they hear, it's a haphazard way, or sometimes incomplete, or sometimes fragmented or segmented or jumbled words they hear. So they are able to generate complex structure that is not learned through reinforcement and external mechanism. So on the basis of those jumbled words or segmented words, or on the basis of those incomplete phrases or sentences, they can generate what we can say new words or novel words or sentence structures. So it's also against the behaviorism theory. Here I want to give you my personal examples. My son Talut, he's now, mashallah, he's 7 years old. And when he was 2 years old, he started speaking very late. And when he was 2 years old, he started to call his four elder sisters with his own names. He gave them his own names. Maybe he found out very difficult names, so he couldn't utter those names. So he gave them his own names. You can see here he gave first elder sister Saja, while her name was Sadia. Second sister Anna, whose name was Bakhita. There is no combination of these sounds, Bakhita and Anna. These are the different, although there's some sort of resemblance. The first name Saja and Sadia, initial sound is same, but in Anna and Bakhita, nothing, a single sound is similar. So he gave the name of Anna to his second elder sister, Bakhita. The third elder sister was named Sakifa, and he gave the name Tabcha. And the fourth elder sister, her name was Themia, and he gave the name of Bala. Saja and Tabja Bala. He used to call them with these names. So we were very surprised. The whole family was very surprised to hear these names, and he didn't do object because he never tried to utter the actual names of my daughters or his sisters. So when he was, after many years, even at the age of 3 or 4 years, he started to change those names. Saja became Api Sadia, or Anna became Api Bakita. And yesterday, my second daughter was saying to her elder sister, "Oh, Talut used to call me Anna, and we like this name Anna very much. And sometimes the whole family used to call to Bakita with name of Anna." So we were very surprised. So this theory, what we can say, innateness tells us. So I want to give you my own example in this way that you can understand. Children learn language with elder speech, but sometimes they use novel words or new words that were not uttered by elder people or adult people of the particular family members. So according to the nativism, it is the experience of life and culture that interacts with or sparks the innate properties of language acquisition, so that children will naturally or automatically pick up the language. So it's clear that nativism's notions of inner ability to learn language, the role of exposure is invincible, or is very necessary. It's very, very important, which is was the also focus of the behaviorist. So third argument was given by the nativist, assert that children seldom receive feedback from their elders, and when it happens, they forget by and large and provided feedback. So, if according to the behaviorist theory, by imitation. If the children learn imitation, they or by repetition or by instructions, so they forget about the instructions of the elder people that was given about the speech. So according to this third argument, they forget. So they forget, they use their own words. They use their words according to their own willingness, according to their own mind and structure. So lastly, children produce rule-based systems. They speak the sentences which they never heard from the adults. So if it is true, then where is the role of imitation and reinforcement? We can understand. Moreover, Chomsky declares that language acquisition must be governed by innate restrictions and it is not dependent upon the cognitive or thinking process because language is acquired when a child is not capable of complex thinking and therefore it does not rely on intelligence, cognition, and experience. So, according to the Chomsky, thinking, cognition, or intelligence or experience, it's not relevant to the child learning process because he or she has just innate capability of language learning. So if we correlate the thinking process with the language learning, we cannot because thinking process is very complex. It's very complicated process, whereas a child is unable to think critically or in the complex way. Thinking it's not possible. So they exclude all these things, the thinking, cognition, intelligence, and experience from this language learning process in the start of the few years of the child. So language acquisition occurs due to the innate language system named as language acquisition device. We already have discussed about this thing. So later this LAD device was replaced by universal grammar. It was named as universal grammar. So if we study the universal grammar of Noam Chomsky, it means we are talking about this LAD device or language acquisition device. So with the notion that a child does not learn language, but it is developed by rules in parameter setting of natural grammar starting from the initial state. Nevertheless, Chomsky notions have been criticized because of theoretical and practical implications and because these things are not practical applicable. So that's why it was criticized. And there is no clear framework as well to teach language to the child. These are what we can say drawbacks of this theory. However, nativism could not provide systematic rules to teach the second language to the adult learners. So lack of systematic rules. It's also claimed that experience of life and culture of language plays an important role, a pivotal role in language development, yet it is unable to provide a clear plan for teaching language. Next theory that we will discuss in our today's lecture, this is the cognitive theory devised by Jean Piaget. Gessler and Long debate that cognitive theory is concerned with the learning process, how knowledge is gained, how knowledge is occurred, how knowledge is stored and used, and the like, and tries to focus on learning styles, understanding how people make sense of something, or some sort of aptitudes they show, some sort of information processing, and other areas. This thing, this theory talks about and focuses on all these things, all these areas of learning, learning process. In cognitive theory, all humans in learning, whether it is a German learning or language learning, they mix up those learning, those type of learning. They do not differentiate the language learning with the general learning or learning of general information or learning of language. And they say that these are the same things or these are the based on same learning mechanisms. So therefore, it can be said that the cognitivist views about SLA are under development because the focus is on learning process that they do not think language as a separate object in mind, but just one of many information that is processed via cognitive mechanism. So they also do not discriminate the language learning process and the learning of other things. They say these are the same, these are the based on the same learning mechanism. Cognitivists are also interested in individual as a person, not as a social being, opposing socio-culturalist, because cognitivist individual is not bound to society for language acquisition. There's no need for exposure, or no need to interact with other people to learn the language, because he has what we can say he has learn he has to learn the language through his mental capabilities of language learning process. So automatically, like mentalism, automatically he has some sort of capacity, abilities to learn language without any exposure, without any interaction with other people. However, he reacts to his surroundings. When a person is learning a language, he reacts to his surroundings or other people to process, organize, and store information. In this way, he learns the language. So what we can say, he learns the language through or via his own mental capabilities rather than exposure, rather than repetition, rather than what we can say rehearsal or practice, reinforcement. Cognitive theory represents two outstanding models for second language acquisition: processing model and connectionism. What is processing models and connectionism? According to the processing models, nodes in our brain are property of memory network or neural network. When new information of L2 are encoded in the short-term memory, it activates the nodes, and this process is named as controlled process. Reoccurring activities, or what we can say again and again, using those information again and again, the nodes makes them automatize the products of the control process, then in turn are stored in the long-term memory and are undeletable. This process is called automatic process. In processing model, there are two main, what we can say, two main processes: control process or automatic. When the informations are in short-term memories, it means these are the controlled in the control process, and then after where uses again and again using of those information, those particular information, the system is automatized, and the information are stored in the long-term memory rather than short-term memory. So if the system is automatized, it means now don't need to recall the things, they automatically will come into our memory. We can use those information. After the storage in the short-term memory, the long-term memory becomes ready to take on the structures and that are very complex. Thus, the second language learners acquire language from simple to complex and from control process to automatic process repeatedly. The second component model that cognitivism theory this is called connectionism. According to the connectionist, human mind is like a computer where language acquisition is regarded as an establishment of the strengths among various connections in brain. When a person uses the language, uses the words, phrases, or different sounds, or different speech patterns, and with the practice, here what we can say, with the practice, the connections are become stronger and stronger. Connectionists hold that the exposure of linguistic input to SLA learners strengthen the mental connections of the linguistic system by the repetition of input. The connections become stronger. Here we can say two main things: that the exposure, the role of exposure, like socioculture theory, give importance to the exposure. Here in this theory, where we can say in this model, you can also see the importance of exposure while learning a language or while getting a linguistic input in SLA or in second language process. So what another thing that we can say repetition, like behaviorism emphasizes on repetition while learning a language, learning other things or other important things, or whatever the process, what things the process of learning is involved. Repetition plays a vital role in this process. So here what we can say that the two main things: a role of exposure and the repetition. Role of exposure, it's also emphasized in sociocultural theory, and role of repetition to get input or practice or rehearsal, that is given by behaviorism theory, and this is the what we can say overlapping here. So the connections become stronger in this way by using, by repetition, by rehearsal, by doing practice and again, the connections in the brain, the connections in the nodes of the brains become stronger. As a result, the present linguistic element activates its counterpart. So in this way, reoccurrence of both elements make them rememberable and toughens the connections. Cognitive theory has been criticized because of its complex representation of atomization of language skills through gradual development stages, linking them with previous knowledge and from short-term memory to long-term memory. As we have discussed in the processing model, there are two main things, two principles that we have discussed. What was the first one? Control system, control process, and the atomized process. Control system or control aspects means the informations are stored in the short-term memory and they can be forgotten or they can be lost while staying over there in the short-term memory. With the practice or with doing using again and again those informations or those speech sounds, speech patterns, sentences, words, and different things, when those information are stored or are what we can say promoted to the long-term memory, it becomes the process of atomized system, or it becomes a part of the atomized system. So because of this atomization or control systems or control aspects of the language of these processing models, this theory is criticized. The different cognitivist models are complicated to carry out a comprehensive practice for SLA. So it's a philosophy concerning associated learning indicates that, like other information, language learning is also processed in the same way. So in this way, when they say that it's not a different things to learn a language, to learn different things, to learn to get different information into the brain, through the brain. So they say in this way they ignore the second language acquisition. They marginalize it. SLA means they do not emphasize to second language learning. They think that these are the same things, learning a language or learning other things. There's no discrimination. The last theory that we will discuss in our today's lecture is a socioculture theory. Lev Vygotsky, who was a Russian psychologist, presented this socioculture theory. He disagreed with the cognitivists who think that SLA is related to the mind of man. Lev Vygotsky considered cognition and language as a social phenomena. He presented socioculture theory based on the assumptions that human thinking is originated from the external social factors, not by mind, not by birth or by nature. It's what we can say. It's based on external, behaviorism, belief that external exposure. So this is also emphasized by this theory or by the gods here by these theorists that learning something, it's related to the external exposure. This theory claims that all kind of learning is gained by the interaction with social settings and the social components, or what we can say the other social motives. Could be family, could be school, social groups, workplace, peer, friends, and the other, like these sorts of things that could be proved as motives for learning something or learning a language. In regards, SLA is a context-oriented activity carried out within the social constructs boundaries with relation to the internal process, and the language is considered as a means for social drives. Chava Colley said. So it's a social drives. Without social or without external exposure, a person cannot go ahead, cannot proceed, or cannot understand, or cannot learn a language even. Vygotsky gave another notion, an important notion of ZPD. What is ZPD? It's a zone of proximal development. ZPD is a term which is used for learner's level of competency at the current time, what sort of potential a child has, or what sort of activities a child with this already exists potential without help of other people, or what he can do with others assistance, or but he cannot do alone or without assistance of skilled or experienced persons or any other helping agents. So that could be teachers, that could be seniors, that could be parents, that could be elder sisters or elder brothers or elder siblings, or even sometimes younger siblings as well. According to Bergin and Bergin, the term ZBT is used as landmark in second language learning. It's very important terms that are being used in second language learning. Furthermore, symbolic tools are helpful in getting empowerment for organization and controllability of mental process. Symbolic tools mean the things that we can see in the pictures, or we can see different symbols. I'm sorry, the symbols, different symbols or symbolic tools, what we can say is could be computer, videos, different other equipments that we can use. When we can use those symbolic tools, the learning process becomes more stronger, more effective, and the organization and controllability of mental process get empowerment. So with the assistance of skilled person, learners become able to internalize their own knowledge and their expertise gained through the interaction with society. So what are the two main things? Skilled persons, right? Through the skilled person, learners become to use the words, to use the knowledge, to use the language. And with the passage of time, that language, words, speech patterns, or information become internalized. Can you understand what internalization is? Internalization means the things that are permanently stored in our brain, in our memory. We don't need to take too much attention, too much struggle or effort to recall those things, because the things have become internalized. When things are not internalized, when things are controlled in the control settings, we need to remember, we need to recall them, we need to, what we can say, memorize in our mind how to use those things, how to use those words. So it means the things are not internalized. When the things are internalized, information are internalized, means we are fluent to use those things without any recalling system, without any remembering them again. So after internalization, the expertise or gain through the interaction with society. So in this way, what they say is they use or they gain as a result of interaction with the society, they become expert. So here is a picture. You can see teachers scaffolding in ZPD. Scaffolding means assistance, help, or cooperation given by the experienced, given by the expert, given by the elders, or given by the, what we can say, the trainer. So here you can see a child is learning, trying to learn how to ride a bicycle. In the start, elder person, what we can say, he is trying to hold the bicycle with his hand, and with the passage of time, gradually, when a child starts to ride a bicycle, and gradually, slowly, he stop pushing and stop holding the bike, or stop holding the Y from the back, or in this way. A child, at the start, a child is very fearful, he's scared, he doesn't want to go alone without assistance of elder. But when he sees he can do, although he had potential of these things, he could ride, but because the system was not internalized, because he hadn't experience of this thing to ride a bicycle, or he was scared. That's why he was scared. When an elder person, when experienced person, when a trainer gave support or help to start this activity in the passage of time, and the child is able to do this activity, or to ride a bicycle, or to use the words, use the language, use the information without assistance of elders. So in this figure, a teacher helps his students to his GPD level by using the image of bicycle. Means a teacher is assisting to his student. He holds his students from falling from his bicycle until the student becomes able to run his bicycle independently, as we have discussed already. So, however, when learners are able to control their own cognitive power and complete their task independently, without assistance of elders, without assistance of experienced or teachers or trainers, so by the appropriated knowledge and skills, they acquire the ability of self-regulation. When a child use the words, use the knowledge, use the information by himself, or use the skill, any skill, or to ride a bicycle without assistance of other persons or people or elders or experience, it means he has entered in the process of self-regulation. He can regulate by himself or by herself how to start that activity, how to end that activity, how to use that activity. He is involved in the self-regulation process. And here, what we can say here, he doesn't need any experienced help. He doesn't need any help from skilled persons. Here you can also see ZPD models. From the left side, if we start, is the actual development level, or what a child can do alone. In the right side, we can see potential development, actual development at the right time, or what sort of potential he has. We have to go to the right side, from left to right, actual development level or potential development level. So assistance of others, or scaffolding, or teacher scaffolding, or elder peer person scaffolding helps the child to go to the potential development and get the what is required level, or what we can say a child can do alone. Go what we can say, for the time being, maybe a child is unable to do that activity without assistance of other, but he has potential, and the experienced persons will help him or her to reach that destination. What we can say, the required development or required potential or activity that he has to perform. So Vygotsky gave the notion of ZPD, through which a learner gets the assisted collaborative learning environment by skilled trainer, teachers, peer, or any other device could be applied to accelerate the zone of proximal development, to make the, we can see, to get progress gradually, or to get progress immediately with the help of this zone of proximal development. According to Vygotsky, collaborative learning with other people or assisting agents, especially in learning environment, leads towards development and advancement. What sort of development and advancement? Related to that particular activity in which he or she is involved. whether he is or she is learning to ride a bicycle, to learning a language, to learning other subjects, to learning other things. So what we can say, he assisted co-op or assisting agent or collaborative or cooperative learning helps the child too much towards advancement and development. Although this situation is not always responding, sometimes teacher is involved in the process of ZPD, zone of proximal development, but the child is not capable to do that very so immediately. But with the passage of time, sometimes it takes time to uh, initiate the process. So for this, teacher can do planning or pre-planned learning instructions contributes towards better outcomes. Teacher makes his students think what they are performing and where they have to finish their performance by modeling, by peer tutoring, is participation and explanation. So he acts as a skillful person who helps a novice or innovative learners to learn a new skill, breaking into small units from lower steps to higher steps to zone of proximal development. But the point is there, if a slow learner, if our learners are slow, so we have to divide that activity or that practice into different smaller units so that a child can learn it easily and can go through the process easily. So what we can say here, to the higher steps to zone of proximal development, which is the learner's level of competency between what he can do and what he can do with other assistance or what he can do alone. So the knowledge of ZPD about the learners may help the teachers to go into the right direction, and learning process can be flourished with learner-centered approach. So what we can see here, it does what we can say, there is no usage of teacher-centered approach. The learner-centered approach or learning-centered approach will be promoted through this ZPD, or that is liked very much by the learners or by the new school of thought or this is the against of the notion of the behaviorism theory that promotes the teacher-centered approach rather than learner-centered approach or learning-centered approach. Oxford explains that learning process scaffolding is required when learners feel more difficulty level for complicated concepts and dependency level decreases gradually when learner feel himself or herself more autonomous and self-directed. So being a teacher or being a language teacher, our learners, our Pakistani learners, we can see a lot of problems, many issues they have in reading, in speaking, in writing, or in listening. They have different problems with the vocabulary, with the grammar. So we need to find out the problematic areas of our learners and we can assist them. We can pre-plan to teach our learners in an appropriate way by using this model, ZPD models. Just we need to facilitate the learners. Just we need, being a teacher, to cooperate with the learners rather than what we can say to make the situation worse. We try to, being a teacher, we try to make the situation pleasant. We, being a teacher, we must try to make the situation easy, or what we can say very what we can say very pleasant, in the pleasant manner. Learners must enjoy the classroom environment that is required by the majority of the educationists and linguists. So socioculture theory is actually an extreme contrast to cognitive theory, where an individual loses his identity and is shaped with the texture of social norms through he and teacher are considered active participants in socioculture activities. So here we can say a child or a learner is what we can say is mere puppet, or he's acting robot-like, or he's acting in a mechanical life. So in the hands of the his seniors or teachers, or he's bound to the social norms. He has to do how other people are doing. He has to perform in what way he is guided. He has to do, or he has to copy it, he has to imitate. It's like a behaviorism theory. So it's not very much difference from the behaviorism theory. Practice again and again, practice, or what we can say here, the role of exposure is very, very important in this theory. Okay, it's the end of our today's lecture. Goodbye, take care.